afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the third and last keynote speaker, which is Master Fresia Villalobos from the NGO MarViva. MarViva is Living Ocean, as a translation. And for me, it's a very special thing to stay here and to present Fresia, because she's like the academic daughter for me. She started in 2003, I guess, working with me, doing her thesis with me, and I cannot imagine being at the university without her. So now to stay here and to present her as a keynote speaker is really something for me. Fresia started as a bachelor degree in biology at the University of Costa Rica in 2009 with emphasis on aquatic resources. And then the next step was a master degree in protected areas management and eco-regional development at the University of International Cooperation here in Costa Rica as well. And recently in 2023, she finished the master in project management again at the University of International Cooperation. For 14 years, and this has something to do with me, she worked as assistant, as researcher and project coordinator at the Fishery and Aquaculture Unit at the University of Costa Rica, associated with the Center for Research in Marine Science and Limnology. And during that time, these 13 years, and she told me and she sent me, one of the tasks that inspired her the most was representing the University of Costa Rica in interinstitutional commissions, like with the fishing in Pesca, which is a fishing agency, which is a very difficult task to be there as a scientist at these commissions, whose function has to provide input for decision making in management of aquatic resources. So her main interests are taxonomy and reproduction of marine invertebrates, aquatic invertebrates, mainly mollusks and decapods. Then the management of commercial species, including invasive exotic species, as well as the study of presence of microplastics in aquatic species for human consumption. She believes that despite the fact that Costa Rica is 90% sea, maybe you are not aware of this, but Costa Rica has an offshore island, it's called Isla del Coco, which is like 500 kilometers away, and that makes a huge area belonging to Costa Rica, 10 times bigger than the land part from Costa Rica. So she believes, and I agree with that despite of the fact that we are living in a blue country, most of Costa Ricans live with their backs turned to the sea. They don't know the sea, they haven't seen the sea, maybe only to go to the beach, that's it, and mostly on the Pacific side. Currently, she's working at the NGO MarViva. She's coordinating the science department, let's say, and she hopes to continue having the opportunity to contribute with her experience in order to improve the management of the ocean. And her talk today is balancing conservation and livelihoods, lessons learned from the Gulf of Nicoya, and we thought that would be a really appropriate talk in order to show the impact also from NGOs in local regional works. It's all yours.
Thank you, Ingo, for that introduction. It's an honor to be here talking to so many people from different areas and from all around the world. So, yeah. Well, my presentation is going to be about, this is a little bit of what MarViva is, so you can like understand where I'm coming from. Getting to know a little bit of Golfo de Nicoya. Since you went yesterday, I just wanted to like get a bigger vision of what the Golfo is, a little bit, and what MarViva has been doing in the recent years. I've been in MarViva for 3 years, but MarViva is an NGO that's over 22 years. So, yeah. So MarViva Foundation, we are located in Costa Rica, Panama, and Colombia, and we work on the Pacific side. And this is another area that we work on, domo térmico, or thermal dome. And our vision is to promote and conservate and promote the conservation and sustainability of the coastal and marine resources in the Pacific. And we've envisioned a biodiverse and healthy ocean, generating well-being for the present and future generations. MarViva has like 4 topics that we work on. And one is coastal community strengthening. The other is responsible production and consumption of marine resources and services, marine spatial planning, and prevention of marine pollution, plastic marine pollution. And we also work 3 programs. Science, that's where I work, and policy advocacy and communication. So we all work together. It's like, it's really challenging and also rewarding because we work daily with our other colleagues. So it's been a change from when I worked in the university, that we worked only like scientists and biologists together. But now I work with other people that have other strengths, and it's really nice to work with them. So Golfo de Nicoya, this is where the Golfo is. I don't know if you've seen a map before. And you were yesterday around here. I'll see another map in Manzanillo. So what I wanted to tell you, like, this is the water surface area in Golfo de Nicoya. And it's small, like in comparison with China, with other African countries, with Canada, it's a really small place, but it's really complex. Okay, so this is Incopesca. Incopesca is our fisheries authority, right? This is MINAI, our environmental authority. And this is our country division, right? In provinces, districts, and stuff. So all these divisions remind us that it's really complex to govern or to do like a good governance of this space. We have 3 different zones for fisheries. We have 3 different zones for environment. There are 3 conservation areas, and we have 2 provinces in the same area. So it's like, to do marine spatial planning, you have to take into account all of this governance, right, and the authorities. Okay, and also divided in those 3 components, or 2 components, we have marine, marine responsible fishing areas, and we have 8 marine responsible fishing areas that are supervised by Incopesca, and we have 17 marine protected areas in the Gulf of Nicoya. So that is more complex, adds more complexity to the area. So this is a map of not all the zone, but most of the 201 and the 202. And these are the habitats or ecosystems. So we have a lot of variety in the zone. We have rivers and river discharge. We have nurseries, mangroves, rocky reefs, fishing grounds, turtle nesting. So there's a lot of habitats and species living there, right? Another thing that I wanted to tell you, that there are ocean or sea-related activities. Mollusk extraction, oyster farms, shrimp farms, illegal fishing, artisanal fishing, tourism. There's a lot of activities there. So a little bit history. of the Golfo de Nicoya. What we know is that early in 100 AD, 1000 AD, indigenous communities were already capturing fish, about 40 species of fish. And also there's registers of mollusk exploitation associated to mangroves and reefs and beaches in the Gulf, not only for food but also for tools or ornaments. And also this zone was really packed with different ports to facilitate contact with the other places in Costa Rica, to San Jose or to other places to the south of Costa Rica. So this is like a photograph of one of those ports, Puerto Jesus, which is across from where you went yesterday, crossing the Gulf. Nevertheless, the first fishing reported here was not a Costa Rican fleet, it was a Californian fleet. And it was in the 1945, and it was based on fishing with a tuna with a fishing pole. So this was the first activity or industrial activity that was carried out in this zone. Later on, until the 1970s, the Gulf of Nicoya was a really good place to go fishing. And during that time, about 65% of the Costa Ricans' artisanal fishing took place there. But afterwards, in 1980, the catches have been declining and everything has been going down, fisheries, and it's been difficult for people to keep on living on fisheries in the zone, in this area. So remembering all the activities and the environments, we have, MarViva has been working to try to manage and to help the people and explain what the activities and the conflicts are and try to work around all of these activities. So now I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about with the main topics that I told you about that we work on, like community, coastal strengthening, and marine special planning. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of what we do or what we've done in the area. So we've worked, this is where you were yesterday. And this is Puerto Tilda, the photograph. Puerto Jesus is right here where the port was. It was a really special port. And people went out and went to San Jose. So one of the things that we work on is supporting alternatives to fishing, productive alternatives to fishing. This is one of the most publicized here in Costa Rica, which is making leather from fish skin. It's an initiative that is based, an association of women is doing, and they have been working for about 2 years in this, and they make earrings and different products. We also work supporting an initiative that produces honey that is based locally around mangroves. So the honey tastes different. It's kind of salty. So this is one of the products, apimangle, it's the name. So yeah. And other activities, we are now working with 15 initiatives in the Gulf. And another activity is really based on tourism. So yesterday I know that you went to this floating restaurant, right? There is another floating restaurant. The first one is here in Isla Venado. You were here. And we have worked with them they also have a project to for tourism with kayaks. So so we are supporting them also with, sometimes we buy equipment, sometimes we do capacity sharing, or we have focused on, we did a big gap analysis of what is needed and what they need, and we're working on this, strengthening capacities on administrative things and organizational needs also, because this is one of the things that, I don't know if they talked yesterday, that the University of La Universidad Nacional has been supporting this area, Manzanillo, Costa Pájaros, for about 30, 40 years. But when the project leaves, it also means that sometimes the initiatives don't pull through, right? So this is one of the things that we've been working on. And we've started these workshops with them, and they have exchanges between initiatives, so that also strengthens and makes it, they can see that their challenges are the same or different, and they can share a lot with each other. Another thing that we want to work, and we always try to work with, is empowering women, because this is one of the most challenging things in the Gulf. It's fisheries in Costa Rica is a man-based activity mainly, but women also are part of the chain, right? And there are always not visualized as part of the chain, as part of the, and aren't as vocal as they should be. So we have this publication that's called Heroínas del Mar, which means heroines of the sea, which talks about a lot of people that work in Golfo de Nicoya and in other parts of Costa Rica. Gina Guillen is one of the women that is talked in this book. Also, Mónica Villalobos. She's a wife of a fisherman, and she has this little processing plant in Costa Pájaros. And we also have worked a lot with Doña Mayela. This is Doña Mayela. She's a fisherwoman, and she is really proud of her fish over there, Corvina. Trout. So this is one of the most challenging, and also when we work with them, it's really hard to see the perspective of themselves, right? Because they sometimes when we work with them, they think that they are not capable of doing a lot of things and not capable of managing a project, but they manage their houses, and that's a really big chore and a work load. They have children, they take them, they manage to cook, to administrate the money in the house, and so making them see themselves differently helps them see that they are capable of doing a lot of things. We also have worked with illegal fishing characterization. We have this other publication, and we have done this participatory workshops with them to see where the main illegal activities are done. Yeah. So we have, and there's this. We work with a committee that's called Red del Golfo, and it has 12 association of fishermen in the Golfo de Nicoya, and we work with them, with different topics. So this is one of the key things that has helped us, because with this network, it has been easier to work all the problems and the challenges that they face. Another project that we have is giving them financial solutions to enhance resilience and responsible fishing through micro insurance options. And this is a project that we have we are doing in Golfo de Nicoya and also in Panama. In Panama, they have like a little bit, they've been working on this for a longer period of time. So we're learning about what they have been doing and applying it here in Costa Rica. And they do exchanges also. Like last week, the Panama associations were here in Costa Rica, and we're in the Gulf, and this is one of the pictures. This is Doña Mónica also. They're explaining what they do. Another thing that we have been working with is trying to understand what are the main challenges and what is the situation in the Gulf. So with INCAE, which is an institute, we have done this social progress index that takes into account other variables like basic needs, wellness, fundamentals, and also different opportunities. So it doesn't take into account only like the gross income, it takes into account other variables so that it can be like a more inclusive growth, what we are seeing. And we're working on a social progress index that has a dimension that is a blue index. So, for example, for Punta Arenas, which is in the Gulf of Nicoya, we did this survey, and one of the main things that got out of this survey, or what we got, is that most of the people that are working or fishing, or the families that are in the fishing sector, don't want to keep on fishing or don't want their children to keep on fishing. So this is one of the results. Here in this graph, I don't know if you can see it, it's too small. In blue, you can see the fishing sector, and in light blue, you can see the non-fishing sector. And you can see, we tried to see differences in the same community between both of the sectors, right? And most of the information or the results is that it's lower. The results or the index is lower for the people that work directly on fisheries. So I think in the next month we're going to be working on this blue dimension, and it hopes to include coastal governance, also blue economy, and things more linked to the ocean in this social progress index. Okay, for marine spatial planning, we have worked. This is like a really complex, as I showed you, that there are a lot of actors and a lot of divisions in the Gulf of Nicoya. In 1995, there was a type of marine area established here in Costa Rica, which is the multiple use marine areas, AMUN. And it was supposed to like divide the country in different zones, like big zones, and try to plan, like what do we want? What do we envision for these areas? But then after like a 3-year-long process, they did like a lot of workshops. MarViva was part of the program. They did a lot of workshops in 2-3 years, and they had like results for the implementation of the plan, and yeah. But there was no governmental institution or body that would implement the plan. So it got nowhere. It like all the effort, all the workshops didn't get implemented. So afterwards, there was this establishment of this MUN was revoked, and now Costa Rica is aiming to do something different. And they have like a guide of spatial planning. And now, again, since last 2 years, we've been working on another way of planning with this guide. And we're supposed to be working on the workshops in the following months to do marine spatial planning in this area. So it's a bigger area. It's this area. This is the Golfo Nicoya, and all of this area is going to be part of this project. So we hope, well, the problem, for me, the problem remains the same, because there is like a law or a law that gives a commission, and for this to be implemented, we need to have these areas established and a commission, but it hasn't been established and they're not working now. So if we do this marine spatial planning, and this is like a 3-year project, and at the end we don't have these commissions implemented or active, it's going to be the same problem. Nobody is going to be able to implement it, and the planning is not going to be done. Another thing that we've been working on is that, well, in MarViva we used to have a project that we were monitoring, but there was a participatory monitoring of the discharges in different receiving fishing receivers, right? And after a year of doing this, one of the things that they said is that the fishermen said, and the fisherwoman said, that they don't know what can be done and what cannot be done in the Gulf. So after that, we worked on this compendium, and this is also published last year, that it's a compendium of all the management fishing regulations in the Gulf. Everything was really like in everywhere, like some regulations were part of the environmental ministry, some of them were from the fishing authority. So this compendium is something that we've been working on, and hope that it will help people understand what they can do and what they cannot do. In this other program that we work on, responsible production and consumption, we have, MarViva has a standard that it's a voluntary principles that some companies can apply, and it has 4 principles and some, well, 4 principles and some criteria, and we base our work on responsible production on this standard. And we are working in Costa Pájaros. We're also working in Punta Arenas, and we're trying to implement this standard. And based on this standard, we have done this participatory monitoring, in which we did a lot of workshops when we learned about what they do and they learned about what we do. And what has worked a lot is because there is a staff member of MarViva that lives in right here. And he has been part of MarViva staff for about 5 years and is working on site. So this has worked to create a lot of trust needed to do this kind of work. And one of the things that really made me happy was seeing this lady, Doña Mayela, telling me that she was telling like the fisheries authority, no, this species is not that one, it's this one, and this is how you measure, and this is how you identify the species. And she was like really empowered, and that really made my day when she told me that. Yeah. And also well, if we see these principles, the conservation principle includes several criteria that include identifying species by species name, also fishing in areas where it is permitted, using selective gear, fishing, the size, the maturity size of the fish, and it has a lot of criteria that we have to obey. So, in order to know where the people are fishing really, because they can say, oh yeah, I'm fishing in a place that is allowed, but if you don't know, like you don't know really if they're fishing there. So, what we did is we installed voluntarily fishing VMS devices in some of the vessels. So we are tracking them, and we are seeing if they are really fishing or really visiting fishing sites that are permitted. So this is one of the things that we are working on, and to try to comply with the criteria. Another thing that we're working on is a traceability app, and this will help mostly the idea of this traceability app is to know, like, when the fish is caught, what the information of the fisherman, the species, where it's caught, with what gear, the size of the fish. And then in the receiver, they put the date, they put the temperature, and the sizes of the fish, and then afterwards, if there's another buyer, like a restaurant or a supermarket, they also get all this information in this app. So we're working on this app, and we are trying it now on inside, like with Doña Monica, and we're trying this app and seeing if it needs improvement. And another app that we have is this traffic light app. It's in Spanish is semáforo, and it works like a traffic light. We have this app on the phone, and it's free, and we can look for species in Panama, Colombia, and Costa Rica, and we can look for them with the common name and also with the scientific name. And it will tell you, based on different criteria, if the species, we recommend the species to be fished or to be consumed. If it's red, you shouldn't eat it, like sharks or rays, for example, or other species that are vulnerable. If it's in yellow, you can try not to. There's several conditions that you have to think about before buying it, and if it's in green, it's okay to consume or to buy. So this is something that anyone can use, and consumers or anyone. And the other thing that we work on is prevention of marine plastic pollution. Last year, we had this project. The idea of the project came from the other project, that the participatory monitoring project, where they did at the end of the project, we did a workshop where they have to think about the recommendations and the challenges they faced. So in this workshop, one of the challenges was ghost fishing. I don't know if it's said like that in English, but when the gear is left under the water, it fishes, right, without knowing us, without fishing. So one of the things that we did was try to map all the problems that surround fishing gear. And one of the problems is ghost fishing. Other problem is, what do you do when the fishing gear is no longer useful? What options do these people have? Most of them just burn them. There's no like sometimes there's no trash, how do I say it? Trash camion, trash truck. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that goes into the communities. They don't have any other options. So what are the problems and what are the solutions and what are the agencies that have to be involved and what do we do? What's the strategy for the future? So this is something that we're working on, and we're almost finalizing this strategy with them. And this is what these are the pegaderos, like where the fishing gear is getting stuck in the Gulf of Nicoya. So you can see all these dots are where there are fishing gear getting stuck. So in the future, we hope to have funds to go and do something in those places. Like, we need to know what is down there, what's happening. Like, can we extract the fishing gear? Maybe it's worse to extract it than to leave it. So what can we do? We need to try to do more investigation of what's going on there. And we also did this campaign for, these are people trying to, we wanted to know what percentage of the trash or of the litter that was in the beach or in the beach was composed by fishing gear, right? MarViva doesn't work on, doesn't promote cleaning beaches because we think that most of the garbage or most of the trash comes from here, San Jose, right? So that's not the problem. The problem is in other places. But in this case, we think fishing gear is the pollution generated by fishing gear is produced inside. So this is something that we can work with the communities. So we wanted to see what was the percentage. It was 40% of the litter that we found. 40% was fishing gear. So yeah, this is something that we've been working on. And just to end, I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we think are the major challenges that we face, and we are still facing in this region. One is illegal fishing. Other is marine governance and coordination between governmental institutions. It's also political, right? And depends on the government if you can do a project or not, or if you can work on some problem or not. So this is a major challenge, And envisioning the future, like Laura said, when I saw her talk, I was saying, oh my God, we should do this in Golfo de Nicoya. Like, there's so many communities here, and I think all of them have a different vision of what Golfo de Nicoya should be. So it would be really nice to do this. And sustaining the productive alternatives through time is like a major challenge, and also gender inequality. And some things that we have learned through all this time is that real changes take time and constant presence in the community to build trust, to work on a challenge that is not like, for example, plastic pollution is not something that you go and talk to this community one day and you think, okay, they learned it, and they just, no, you need to go and work with them. And the next year do the same, because there are different people in the community. They're like, so you have to keep on and work on constantly. Another thing is that for planning, for marine spatial planning, it's necessary to have this institutional organism that is in charge of doing or implementing the master plan. That is one of the products of this marine spatial planning. If it's not active, it's not going to work. There has to be somebody responsible for doing it. And we've seen that working with the communities is something that you can't go and tell them what they need. You can't go and tell them what we envision. You need for them to give us, like, it's an exchange, right? We have some knowledge and they have a lot of knowledge, so it's needed to be participatory. And another thing is that when we work with productive alternatives, we have seen that they have to be linked to the ocean also. You cannot, it's in the culture, right? They need to be, like most of the alternatives are alternatives to fishing, but they are related to fishing or to the ocean. For it to be like something exitoso, like successful, yeah, it has to be something that they want, that they feel connected to. And multidisciplinary approach. We have, like in MarViva, we work science, policy, communications, but we also work with other consultants that work with us that have different expertise. And this has been something that has worked for us. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Fresia. A very nice talk, and I think after the talk, you know why MarViva is associated to the project here in Costa Rica, and I think their main participation will be when we have results and we try to reach the decision makers in Costa Rica and the region, and they have a lot of experience in doing that, and so I think it's a really good partner for the project here in Costa Rica and maybe for the project overall. So we have 10-15 minutes for questions. So Rashid, please go on. No, not yet.
Great presentations and also great projects. Yeah, it's really impacting. Yesterday when we were at the field, I asked a question. Maybe the question remained unresolved. And I saw the title of your work, Conservation -- Livelihood. The question was to the women working on the mangroves, the fishers, do they understand the benefit of conserving the mangrove? And the answer we got was that no, they see the mangrove as a means of escaping from anti-poaching exercise, rather than something that will benefit their own, increase fish production. Do you see this in your projects? And then maybe the last part is, what sort of technology is being used from the product, using the skin of the fish to make product? What level of technology is being applied because it's a great innovation. So what kind of technology is being used to get the skin out and then get the product fixed? Thank you.
For the first question, thank you for the questions. I think it depends on the community that you're working on, because, well, I haven't gone to Manzanillo to that project, but I have gone to another project that is in Isla Chira, which is an island inside the Golfo, and they do have another project that is restoration, mangrove restoration, and they are really like they have been working with NGOs for a lot of time, long time, and they are empowered, and they are the projects are maintained by women, men, and fishermen, and ex-fishermen, and they do know the importance of conservation and conserving and restoration of the mangroves. So I think it depends on the community and the contact that it has been had with other institutions or with the topic, right? Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. It depends. It depends on, yeah. And what's the technology? Hands. It's manual. It's really manual. With there is this the skin provider is one of the works with us also, but in the other component with fishing chains, and he gives the skin to this other project that's Piel Marina, and they work the skin with their hands and with some chemical products for the leather to remain soft, and there's this formula, and but it's manual. They don't use any. When they dry the skin, it's in a table, like a board, and with staples to let it dry on the sun and or out of the sun, but in hot weather, so it will dry. Yeah, but they don't use any like really tough technology to do that. And afterwards they use sewing machines and things like that to do the artisanal things. But the idea to do is to sell the portions, like the big portions, so other companies can use them for shoes or for fajas. Yeah, belts. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your presentation. And one of the graphs was so scary for me, especially the one you showed, the social progress index. Yes. The social progress index was so scary for me, in the sense that I've seen that there's a gradual shift of people from small-scale fishing to other sectors. And thank God you have something to track that. So if care is not taken, it means that small-scale fishing will be out of business. They will be wiped off. So, and I know it's not only here, some parts of the world, there are similar trends. So what measures, what alternatives, how can we make it more attractive or so encourage more people to go into that sector? Probably there are some challenges. What are some of the barriers that we're able to address so that to make it more motivating for small-scale fishers? Thank you.
What we've been working on is this implementing this standard that creates value chains around fishing. So we've tried, this standard, part of the one of the principles is that fishermen are recognized their work on, it's easier to fish illegally with illegal arts and stuff. So if you do it responsibly, the fishing value chain will give something back to the fishermen. So that's one of the things that we tried to work on. But it's hard to balance because in the Gulf of Nicoya, the fishery is decaying because there's no fish, right? The practices have been in different conditions in the Gulf, like river discharge, pollution, and so the fisheries have been declining. So it's hard to balance that. You can't have a lot of fishermen if there's not enough fish. So it's tricky, but that's what, the standard is our guide, and that's what we try to create value around the fishing chain and commercialization. Mhm.
Thank you for that great talk and helping us understand what we saw yesterday even further with the work that you're doing. I have a couple questions in mind, but I think I'll just ask one. And it comes from your opening slides. You talked about the history, the deep history in this area. I was also interested in this yesterday. I was reading just on Wikipedia about the archaeology of the Nicoya area. It's been occupied for 10,000 years. It was one of the areas in Costa Rica that about 1,000 years ago connected with the Mesoamerican, cultures, and then was one of the first in 1520 to pledge allegiance to the Spanish crown. So it has this interesting, very long history, and fish is a part of it throughout. And in that long period, there have been many different adaptations and social structures and ways of organizing around the fisheries. So I wonder if this business of heritage, of looking back, of being inspired by what may be seen in the archaeology or in the stories that come from the more distant past, not the 1980s, but the prehistoric times, is part of the discourse in the communities about how they see their futures.
What I have encountered is mainly in Isla Venado. In Isla Venado, you can find burials of I don't know. It's like packaging of the people bones in like little packages, and that is something that and there are some places in Isla Chira where you can find like little remainders of vasijas, like pottery and stuff like that. But I think people are really not in touch with the past in Costa Rica. Like here, nobody in San Jose or nobody knows any native language. It's something that it's like for all the country. We're not in touch with our like past, really back past, right? So, yeah, I haven't. It would be it's an interesting question, and I would like really want to explore this more in the future. But I haven't encountered this like. I can't answer like the question because I don't have like the information right now. But I think they're not that in touch with their like past. Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thanks. So that's really good talk, and I think that's particularly after our few visits yesterday has really helped us to also see the bigger pictures in the Gulf and connect it to what we saw yesterday. So that's great. I'm interested in. I think there's something that we were discussing too after our talk, after visit, is that I think about the kind of sustainability of these small-scale projects. I think some of it you features, particularly on the how to make it, for example, financially sustainable. And you mentioned about like the micro-insurance, so can you tell us a little bit more about your thinking and what you've been doing in terms of securing that component of things, and making sure that they have enough credits to support the initiative and scale it up, and then also maintain it. I think you want to have it to be maintained even without the support of the organization. So I think that's something that I want to hear a little bit more about, because that's something that I think other cases, other coastal communities are also interested in terms of the questions that they have.
Okay, yeah, thank you, William. For the initiatives that we are supporting right now, the main gap is like capacity to manage your own project. We are working on simple things like, what's your mission? What's your vision? What do you want with your initiative? And this is something small and simple, but this makes them know like what they want in the future. And because we've encountered like initiatives that one day, like 6 months ago, they said, "Well, I want a restaurant," and 6 months later, they don't want the restaurant. They want something else. They're just looking for something for them to live by, right? So it changes. It depends on the day or on the situation that they are living in that space and time. So that is one of the things that has helped us, and they are really appreciated. They appreciate a lot, like knowing what they want in the future. So this is one of the things that we are working on now, and also working on sustainable options, like environmental options. And we have, like here, maybe you talked yesterday, but in Golfo Nicoya, most of the people they don't own their land. So this is a problem, and this is something that if you want to certify yourself with like sustainable tourism, you can't, because this is an impediment. So we're working on other options for them to have like this standard for tourism. And we hope to work with the university, La Universidad Nacional, that they have seen the same problem, that there's no certification, national certification that is for this communities or for this space. It's more for people in San Jose or other types of projects, right? So this is another thing that we're working on. And what else? Organizing themselves. Like, there's always someone that carries all the load. That's what we've seen. And there's like, most of them are like really empowered women or men, but they struggle to delegate responsibilities, and helping them organize themselves and seeing that, okay, in association you need someone to do this, someone to do that, and this has helped a lot, I think. Astrid.
Thank you, Fresia. I think you did a great job to summarize all these complex topics, and it was a great talk. I would like to ask you about the topic of governance. You mentioned that governance is one of the main issues and challenges that Costa Rica is facing. So what would you think would be the major challenges in terms of marine governance, and what NGOs can help to, in which ways NGOs can help to address them?
What MarViva aims for is for people to be empowered. Like, MarViva doesn't want to impose what the community wants. They want to give them tools, give the people tools so they can ask for what they need. They can not only ask, but they can demand what they need and what they are, their rights are, right? So I think that's what, well, from MarViva we are doing, we're trying to do, like empower communities to work on governance. And they sometimes think that they are not part of, they don't have the power to do anything, but they do. So that's, I think, what we can do, empower and work together.
Thank you for your talk to the situation in Costa Rica. And I have maybe two questions. The first one, just to validate, maybe you have already answered. The motivation of the illegal fishing there is because there's no fish? Just because there's no fish, so fishermen have choose to do illegal fishing for more fish? Is that?
It's fast. Well, there's two types of, well, two main groups of illegal fishing. One is using illegal arts, right? Illegal gear.
Yeah.
The other is fishing, like with selective gear or not. Well, with with gear that you can use, allowed, but without license.
Oh.
And this is a big problem in Golfo Nicoya because they're too little. There are a lot of fishermen, but most of them don't have licenses to fish. So those are the two, and so what encourages them to do it is different depending on what type of illegal fishing you're doing, right? There's this illegal fishing that is cerco, which is like, well, it's encierro, sorry. And it's like, I can see, well, here's the picture, it's easier. No, this one. No, it's in encierro. I don't know if it's only done here in Costa Rica, it's original or what. But there's a lot of fishermen that go around with different nets, and then these make sounds. So the fish get scared, and then they close it, and then they take a lot of fish.
Yeah, it's for croakers, right?
Yes, for corkers. So this is illegal, and it's done really fast. And I think what they sell is the bladder. Mm-hmm. So the market, it depends on the market what they sell. And the illegal fishing fishers that don't have licenses is because most of them just for like to live, right? To sustain their lives. So it depends on what the practice is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, that's the first one, and there's maybe a second one, just a quick one. I saw some oyster and shrimp farms.
Mm-hmm.
So how's the harvest?
The harvest. Oof. I'm not an expert on. Well, I'm not an expert on anything, but aquaculture. The harvest. Well, I think it's not that good because there's not that much technology implemented here, and it has been seen like an alternative to trawling, which is not, it's prohibited here in Costa Rica. So, but I think it's not, well, maybe Ingo knows a little bit more about aquaculture, but I'm not that. There is a publication in MarViva's library, so you can, from an expert in aquaculture, so, but it's in Spanish, so, well.
So we have 3 more questions, including Rashid, so quick ones.
No, mine's more like a comment. I think it's very interesting what you said, that most families don't want their children to work on the same thing, because, well, I believe that coastal zones in Costa Rica, they don't have a very nice life, to say it in a way. Livelihood is really not accessible to everyone, and I think it's very interesting that this project tries to help them to get better fish on a legal way, because the thing about illegal fishing is that affects the environment, affects the biodiversity, and the apps. It's something that I really like. I think it's great, the one of the lights, el semáforo, sí. And I think a very important thing is, like, I know the local governments are like a hard thing to deal with, but you should always aim, like the projects should always aim to get fishing people a worthy life, una vida digna. Because, like, that's a principle. Yes. So I think it's a really nice project, and I've never heard of it. I'm from here, and I've never heard of it, so it's really interesting.
Well, thank you.
Hola, jefecita. So I'll be brief. So I guess my question is based on your experience in the region and with NGOs, looking at this crew and like at the project. From your perspective, what would be like the key things that could like really impact this region in terms of maybe like more like science related or outputs from like this partnership?
The key things that this project will bring to the they need. Okay. Maybe the working with different stakeholders in the same room is something that will help them. We try to do this like with municipalities being aware of the problems around coastal fisheries and coastal communities. Maybe like working together and working and making different authorities with different visions in the same room work for the same objective. I think that is really valuable, and I hope like this kind of projects that works with different entities achieve like this, because it's so hard to like work with separate institutions and with the people in the center, and they sometimes tell you, oh, the only one that helps us is MarViva, but that's because we're working with them. In another community, it would be another NGO maybe, and nobody helps us, or so maybe like everybody being in the same room is something that is key.
You're done.
Okay.
I have to ask a question to make Ingo happy. So this is because of you, okay, Ingo? Yeah, you know, just when this nice guy, he kind of shook me to wake up from my dozing, I heard you say the people there, they don't have land rights, or they don't own their land and so on. No, first question, is it the same all through Costa Rica? And if it's not the same, why?
It's like you can't own lands in islands, right? In islands and in coastal borders, like in the close to the sea, you can't own land. They give concessions for different activities, like for mariculture or for your receiver, or but they can't own them. The houses are there, but they're not owned. Yeah, they're Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they build schools there, and it's part of marine or spatial planning that's not that planned, that well planned. Yes.
So once again, thank you very much, Fresia. An applause to you. We are a little bit over time. Do you want to say something? Yeah, please.
Thank you, Ingo. And so normally we give gift to I guess Fresia, but this time is very special. She actually bought gift to us. She bought some of the calendar, which is really beautifully made from MarViva to us. There's a limited copy, so I'm thinking we will give one team per copy so that they can mark the activities for the FCB on the calendar, so that they won't miss the meeting too. Thank you so much.
That's the prize Rashid was talking about in the morning, right? So now we have the coffee break, and I guess hopefully we can bring the coffee into the next session, which will be, somebody helps me.